Hello, brothers and sisters of light and dark. Welcome to my page. My page is about common sense, but I try to keep it down and in the nitty-gritty, under 10 minutes. If it goes over 10 minutes, that means it's something very important. And not important to liberals, libertards, people who believe in God, people that smoke, people that drink, people that eat watch, people that DMT, people who are NPCs. My message is mainly for the shapeshifters, the werewolves, the bats, who are in the meat bags of the flesh, the werewolves, the aliens, and all those third parties out there who have to wear the human skin too. I'm talking to them guys and gals and everything in between. Now, I'm your one and only indigo child on the internet right now. Crazy schizo, bat out of hell, crazy. Who talks about things that most people don't talk about. And if you can read my description down below, you'll know where to find me. I'm a father figure. I'm a prodigy that travels and do things all across the world internationally. I am a missionary, indeed. If you have any comments, questions, insults, or even roast fest, you put it down below. I know most of you need father figures. You need someone to guide you onto the holy path of righteousness. All right? I sound like a cult leader, don't I? That's a good thing. That's not actually a bad thing, right? But this video is going to be particularly about tyranny and dictatorship in communist China. When will tyranny most likely flourish? When will a dictatorship like Hitler, Heil Hitler, will flourish in society? When will these things occur? These things will occur when you know when your rights in America, mainly in America, because ain't nowhere else like America when it comes down to freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. Right? Right? You got that. Right to speech, freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. You can plead the fifth and say nothing at all. But of course, now, when you know your rights is being violated, your civil rights. Now, black folk know about this. The old folk, black folk know about this. And they know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? When your civil rights has been violated through manipulation through the government, like the CCP in China, okay? Or the Japanese governments, okay? Communist countries. When you know you have no right to speak about the government or any of that faction, and you do not have a right to defend yourself, that's when you know you're going to be a hoe. You're going to be scraping. You're going to be a slave to the government. All right? Because that's not what America is about. When you're censored, okay, when there's foreign powers taking over your rights to speak, even though you're speaking factually truth, that is when tyranny will occur. I'm just being as simple as possible with it. Okay? When you know your civil rights is being violated, when your children are being taken, because I talk to a few crackers out there and I tell them, hey, if you're doing this to minorities, what makes you think that the powers that may be, which is part of the government, is going to take your children with that same power? That ironclad, untouchable. I heard that the CPS, DPS are basically above the law. See, there you go, another thing. When some individuals who was given right and powers, they are above the law to do these things illegally. It's illegal to go upon against your rights. They don't read you your rights on your memorandum. They just do that because they feel it's fit, or they feel a false concern, because it does happen, and it has happened to me. I'm the only one that actually talks about shit that most people don't talk about, like virginity, are virgins loyal, okay? Why a man simps, why guys don't try to seek out father figures. I talk about a whole bunch of stuff that guys don't talk about. That's, of course, that's me. And also my personality trait down in my description box. But understand this. Once your civil liberties has been removed and you have no right to bear arms, you have no right to free speech, those foreign powers actually win, because that's their whole goal, to destroy freedom of speech. Okay? That's where it begins at. It begins with the freedom of speech. It's happened to me. I've been censored. That's why I voted for Trump, simply because his rights was being violated. Freedom of speech. Even these platforms are not even talking about the good things that Trump does. Talked about. They censor him. They just remove it. You say the word Trump, they're going to remove the video. Okay? Capiche? And also, they're going to start violating your civil rights through code of their own conduct. Their conduct. And you have the right to an attorney, but that attorney is working for them. Then you lost the battle. You lost. They appoint you an attorney. You got to be careful with that too. That's how they get you. Because you're ignorant. You don't know any better. I'm ignorant. I'm being honest. And I'm a psychopath. I'm an intellectual myself. I like to do my research and due diligence. But I like to take the shortcut. I don't like to do too much research. I'm not trying to be like Elden Ring players who just want to die 1,000 times just before they beat one boss and just get some kind of rise off of beating one goddamn boss. How about make a video about that? The Elden Ring syndrome. People who love to be abused, they're masochists. And when they suffer and then they all of a sudden win, they get a rise off of it, a sexual arousal of it. And that is not a good thing, because they suffered thousands and thousands of times. It's like, what's next worse than getting your ass beat in a video game over 1,000 losses and you win one time? Can you do it again? No, they'll try it again. They think that's fun. They want to suffer. Those are masochists. But if you, the American people, this is a message to the American people, mainly predominantly white folks, because black folks don't have a voice like white people do, obviously, duh. Okay. And there's still systematic racism. For those who do the research and due diligence, yes, there is. They affect you by going, if you want to know of systematic racism, it works like this. The white man who invaded in the past knows about the history of black folks, right? And what happens is that they know black folks have a tendency of not doing the correct thing. So they raise the rates for different people, and they'll check your credit. They'll do all sorts of things. They'll screen you. See, screening is a form of psychological warfare against the minorities. And there are white minorities too. So when the majority of the white minorities start to pick this up, because if it affects them enough, or the middle class, they will speak up for black folks, because black folks can't really do much. They need to know certain white folks in order to get the rise out of the government. And it affects everybody. As a matter of fact, the few top who got all of the money is actually using psychology for the rest of the 70%. Okay? You should know that. That's just common sense. If the top 25% have all of the money, or you may want to consider them Republicans, okay? They know their lineage and families is more important than you. They do not want to donate. They feel you should get off your bootstraps and make it for yourself. They believe that. They don't care about your history or anything. That's how cold they are. That makes it where there is a systematic racism in place. There is no democracy. And that's where democracy is supposed to come in and say, this is not fair. I didn't like affirmative action when I found out about it. I was like, what the hell is this? But the reason at that time it was necessary because white folks was abusing black folks too much, and they need some sort of edge, okay? The white folks back in those days didn't care, so affirmative action actually helped a few points, okay? But it was like a governmental handout. But now they don't need it no more. But it's still needed now? Do you think so? You think affirmative action still is needed? I don't think so. Because there are people like me who live in the hood and actually try to educate blacks, but they don't listen, so they deserve to suffer. They're under this lock and key with this mental psychology, okay? They're slaves, okay? But I don't get involved anymore. I'm getting older. I ain't got no time for it. Anyway, that's all I gotta say, because I'm not your average man. I'm not your man. And y'all have a nice day. I had to make this quick video because the tyranny and dictatorship occurs. You are all going to suffer the worst fate. And who is it going to affect more? Mainly minorities, whores, and simps. And uneducated folks who don't like education. Alright? You got to find some kind of way to make it for yourself and how you live in society. But if you're doing bare minimum, you may become homeless. You might have to rely on a family member to help you. The nuclear family is being destroyed systematically from outside forces. That's why we have to get rid of the illegal immigrants. We got to get rid of the greedy slave mastermind hive where they're just hiring illegals and paying them less for what they're doing. Trump has to do that. That's not my job. That's not my job. When the illegals are already having prepaid SNAP benefits on cards, and it's a whole lot of stuff wrong. But what you gonna do about it? Sit back and watch and wait. But don't let tyranny sneak up on anyone. Not in America. No, oh hell no. Especially after what happened to Charlie Kirk. Alright? You have to understand something here. Because you don't know someone don't mean they deserve to die, okay? And that's definitely where tyranny occurs. When the government start getting hitmen like the CIA and Mr. Raymond Remington is trying to kill off people who are trying to do right by society, okay? I saw a couple episodes in The Blacklist where there were these people who were in the right and Raymond killed them even though, okay? They were in the right, but he killed them. Because for the overall good of humanity, it was a great evil for a greater good. Okay, just like religion, we need religion. Okay, but of course, y'all have a nice day here. Understand that tyranny is not a good thing. You don't want to live in a communist China, CCP, whatever you want to call it. You got to watch freedom of speech. Just watch it carefully, because when I say certain key words, they're using bots now. They're using bots, and that's wrong. It should be a group of people making a decision, right? It shouldn't just be a bot selecting a few words and then that's it. Because they will actually override the bot if you appeal it. And when you appeal it and you know you still didn't do something, then you have bigotry. And when you have bigotry and you have people who are bigoted on their feelings rather than the facts. And sometimes, just like a little while ago, I learned that TikTok, they create different news scenarios which you can't say certain things and they'll get your video removed. And that's not what America is about. And I've done this and I say, hey, did I just receive a message from TikTok saying that this content is not original, so we have a right to remove it? That's their content. That's not right. If I want to share someone's information or share something that's already on TikTok, I have a right to share it. And they actually blocked it one time. Have you ever did that before? That's when tyranny is the beginning of the end. That is not a good thing for America. I literally reposted a video that was already posted on TikTok, and it was like, oh, we flagging this. We had given you a warning. You got a strike for your account, right? But the video is already on TikTok. Have that ever happened to any of you guys? I never had that problem with Big O. Okay? I'm on Big O. I never really have no problems with Big O or Facebook doing videos. But Facebook is actually removing videos anyway because their cache or their memory banks is getting full. That costs money, man, to keep up. Okay? That storage is building up. There's a lot of beautiful stories in the world that needs to be heard. But greed is destruction of a lot of things. Okay? But anyway, that's all I really gotta say because I'm not your average man. I'm not your Peter Pan. And people who are greedy, they don't understand that even in the context of the Bible, it tells you no rich man is making it into the kingdom of heaven. So you have to get rid of the wealth. You're making too much around yourself. So if I got rich, I have to live in a poor country and give out my distributions in the poor country. See, that makes sense. Then I'm not rich anymore because I'm actually giving to the poor. Okay? And I'm trying my best not to get robbed or killed. Okay? But you gotta be careful when you're rich. You people they can sniff it out, man. They can sniff out money. You gotta know how to hide that money. You can't be telling people, oh, you got money. They're gonna kill you, man. They're gonna kill you. You understand that I'm not your average man. I'm not your Peter Pan. Do things discreetly. Keep it secret. Keep it safe. And y'all have a nice day. Peace.